So the first thing I just want everyone to think about is how would your business be different if your ideal buyer believed you were the only person who could help them? What if they came to you, they already trusted you, they already believed that you're the one that they need? And instead of selling them your services, you simply fulfilled their deepest desire, which is to have you help them. It's hard to get there, as we all know. That's all of our biggest goal. And that's the power of telling a story and showing a story versus selling your product or service. When they know who you are and they trust you and they like you, you no longer need to sell. How do they get to know you the easiest? That is storytelling video. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about. I'm going to show you a fun example really quick. So first, I'm going to sell you on Humankind Films. And then I'm going to tell you our story. And as we're going through this, I want you to notice how you feel and what you think about us and how that changes from the beginning to the end. So I'm going to sell you first. Hi, we're a production company. Our name is Humankind Films. We film content for your website, social, and email campaigns. We're both experts in video production with over 30 years experience, and we have an Emmy award-winning post-production team. So that all sounds great, right? Here's our story. I was a high school dropout and a teenage mom. I worked EMS, being part of hundreds of people's worst moments and biggest catalysts. I eventually shoved my way into journalism with no degree. I walked into a newspaper and I demanded a job, to which they laughed, and they handed me a headline title, Homeless for the Holidays, and they told me if they published it, they would hire me. They did publish it, and in fact, Oxford University featured it in their textbooks as an example of exemplary emotional journalism. That led me to become a copywriter, a fractional CMO. And I turned 40, I got divorced, and that's when I started our original company, Buckshot Media. I was sitting on the floor in my empty apartment with no furniture, paralyzing anxiety, and I was a single mom with shaking hands and no ideas. So I decided to start Buckshot Media, and 3 months after meeting Mark on a dating app, we shot a reality show together. Now we're married, we have 6 kids and a grandbaby between us. We've been through tragedy and triumph. Mark was a photojournalist for 30 years. His photos have been used all around the world, one of them being labeled one of the most used American photos in history, which was a picture that he caught at the 1999 Columbine High School shooting as a photojournalist, not knowing that that was actually my graduating class. He worked through actually vomiting on scene for weeks. He gained a case of PTSD during that time. But he learned that humanity and story are what means more than anything else on the planet. A person's story and their experience of life is really all that matters at the end of the day. So our mission is to tell the stories of business owners and the people who make their company work. Not only that, but to tell the story that a buyer will have once they purchase your product or service. How will they feel? Who will they become? And that's what they need to know in order to give you their money. So if you take a moment and think about why you're here, why did you start your business? What makes you the best at it? And what do you need your customer to feel in order to hand you over their hard-earned money? And that's our story. So does anyone have any feedback on the difference that you felt between those two things? Mac.
Those that know me know that I was involved in the image making industry for 50 years, mostly selling the equipment. I worked with a lot of still photographers, and towards the end of my career, video and digital came in. I'm always amazed when I meet people that do not have the understanding of imaging, how important having a professional capture their story, their images, their stills, and that and the question is how do you find when you're talking to people, how do you explain to them, you know, that yes, we all have a cell phone, but you know, if you don't know lighting, you don't know content, you don't know how to start from the beginning and finish up answering the questions, how do we accomplish what we're trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest question that we find ourselves answering. And a lot of people say, you know, oh, I'll just shoot something quickly on my phone or this or that. The problem with that is that there's so much more emotion and connection that can be created within a high-end video, which Mark's going to get into in just a couple of minutes. Some tricks that we have that we can create with backgrounds and color grading and just how we film in general. And that's what they do in the movies to make you feel a certain way, right? And so that's one way that we help connect. And that kind of leads me into this quick slide, just telling you the difference between video versus text or photo. People retain 95% of the message that they watch in video and only 10% that they read in text. I know I am that way. I can read an entire thing of instructions and have no idea what to do. But if I watch a video on how to do it, I can do it. So, you know, about 84, 89% of people say that watching a video convinced them to buy a product or service. So those are the whys. And I'm hoping this works, and I'm sharing my whole screen. I'm going to show you just a quick 30-second clip of a video that we made. And then I have a couple of questions for you afterwards that will kind of answer some of Mac's question. If you can't hear it, Mac, let me know. Can everyone see?
Down here, you measure things by a different standard. It's not about flash. It's about function. It's about trust. The men of Black Fox may trust their gear because it's made the same way they work, with integrity. They carry safety helmets, proudly blue collar, tough, reliable, and comfortable for the long haul. It's not just a helmet, it's a commitment.